Some time has passed. You got out. Do not go back. There is nothing for you to salvage. This could be, for some of you, this could be a job. This could be family. This could be so called friendships or relationships. If you have gotten out, you got into a place of peace, okay? Now, because you have been so conditioned, you may have been surrounded by so much toxicity that at some point was familiar to you. So things are real calm. For some of you, you may even, unfortunately consider your peace like, oh man, it's a bit boring. There's not much going on. Go through the process. Continue to work on yourself. Continue to connect with the higher power, the Most High, because you're starting something new in your life. There is nothing for you to salvage with those past people. Those people treated you like crap. Many of you, you went through some things where people are even surprised that you are breathing, that you're still on this earth. And if you were able to escape those things, if you were able to separate yourself from the negativity, from the toxicity, it's so important, especially right now, for you to continue moving forward. Don't you dare try to reconnect. Don't you dare try to extend an olive branch. Because the truth of the matter is that those people have not changed. You're the one that's changing. Okay? Sometimes when you allow yourself to get into reminiscing, oftentimes you don't really think a lot about the negative things that have happened. When you're reminiscing, you begin to think of the few glimmers of good times. Take the time to really realize all that you've overcome. Because if you really take this time and assess it, the things that you were going through, some of these people took it upon themselves to add more insult to the injuries that you already were dealing with. But because you have a really good outlook on life, you could be an optimistic person. You are you're susceptible to people taking advantage of your kindness. Don't be a fool all your life. And don't get me wrong, y'all. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm not trying to treat you like they treated you. Because some of them gloat, thinking that you're foolish for tolerating the stuff that they may not have ever tolerated. But if you're now realizing that you deserve to have a life that has peace. You deserve to have a life that has people within it that actually show respect, that actually consider who you are, your feelings. Okay? Continue moving forward with that momentum. Because thinking that you can go back and you can try to, impart some type of care towards these people, there are some individuals that have no cap on the amount of disrespect that they'll do out to others. You can't love people out of their dysfunction. You can't love people out of their traumas and their toxicity. Okay? That's something that they have to come to terms with, that they need to change. But you're entering a new season right now. The Most High has set you apart for a reason. Don't allow yourself to return to the familiar. Many of you, your familiar was disrespect, your familiar was toxicity. But there's greatness on the other side of that. Just because you may have come to the understanding that you have to separate from certain family members or friends, or for some of you, it may have been a long-term job or whatever. But if you have come to the point where your sanity, your peace of mind is more valuable than history, is more valuable than the time that you've spent, that's a point where true change is beginning to take effect in your life. Don't undo all the work that you've done. I'll share this a little bit. Several years ago, I've always kind of kept my distance from family because I realize on a deeper level, these people are dealing with systematic oppression and they've come to internalize it. So these toxic things that they're doing towards me, it's not necessarily personal, but it is a process of what they have begun to identify as a norm. And so I realized early on that when I get a certain age, I just got to get away from these people. But I always felt a level of being tethered to them because despite the level of disrespect, gaslighting that I experienced with my family, I have this idea of, having a loving family and hopefully we can get along. So, I would still feel somewhat obligated to this allegiance of what I thought was family, but family truly was familiar enemies. And so a couple of years ago, I decided that, okay, you know, I'm going to go around family a little bit more. And it actually was during a time where a lot of people were going through a lot. I mean, this was around 2019, 2020. And so had to downsize and end up having to go back around family. And it was the level of disrespect that they operate in was even worse. And all those thoughts that I had, I was more so focused on thinking about the positive memories that we had, which compelled me to even entertain the idea of, going around family more during that time and downsizing to living near them. But we have to be careful of putting sugar on top of, I want to keep it clean. We have to be careful of trying to put sugar coating things. Okay. There was good times that we had growing up, but the bad situations greatly outweigh the good. And I gained that reminder when I ran around it, when I went back home and had to downsize and was around these relatives. They were not only tolerating toxicity, they were condoning it. Okay. The family rapists, the family PD files, okay, were welcome as if everything was normal. And in the midst of all that, I kept seeing that there was a lot of people that were hurting within the family, dealing with different addictions. And so it was definitely an aha moment that there was nothing to salvage. Sometimes we think that, if we're doing better in life, that somehow we can go back around family and our energy, our presence is going to make things better. Sometimes your absence is the truth. Sometimes your absence is going to provide certain people within your family to realize that, okay, maybe I can change and shift somewhat, but it's not up to you to do that. If God is moving you away from certain people, it's for a reason. Furthermore, you're going to be able to, if you desire to have family, you're going to be able to create that type of family dynamic elsewhere. Okay? It's not for you to feel as if you got to carry this burden on your back of tolerating people that are very intolerable, that intentionally do disrespectful things, that are intentionally contributing to generational trauma. Okay, they're not even want to entertain the idea that there's something wrong, something deeply wrong. And for some of you, it's going to be meaning leaving behind your mama, your daddy, your siblings, your grandma, your uncles, your cousins. It's going to require you to really take a hard look at your life and realize that, okay, do I want to stay in dysfunction or do I want to choose a better life? Choose you. Choose the straight and narrow path and trust that God is going to provide what it is that you need. And that also is not having to tolerate dysfunction. Leave gracefully. Don't go back. There's nothing to stop.